We live in a time where masculinity is shamed and men don't know what it means to be a man. As a pastor and counselor, I've spent the better part of my life equipping and training others. My goal with this show is to translate my hard-earned experience into tools and tactics to help you become stronger as a man. This is the BraveCo podcast. I'm your host, Jason Vallotton. Hey BraveCo men, this week you guys are getting a behind the scenes sneak peek of Date Well Men, and that's ran by Moral Revolution. I'm here with Abram. We just did a whole session, so you guys are about to watch that session. If you're interested in Date Well, Abram's gonna give you some information on how you can check it out.
Yes, this is one of our live sessions. This is it's a 3-level course that helps you get healthy, see clearly, and then end up dating well. So it's great. If you want to find out more, you can go to letsdatewell.com, click on the men, and use the code BraveCo, and that will get you $50 off the price. We've got core sessions, we've got live teachings like the one you're about to see. We've got lots of Take 10 videos of situation specifics, then a whole community of men all around the world doing this together.
Yeah, so if you're in the dating phase, if you're starting that, I would highly recommend this. So otherwise, enjoy this week's episode, guys.
Okay, hey, welcome back, men. We have Jason Vallotton here. Today is all about self-awareness, emotional health. Excited, we've got a series of questions. I hid my phone, but my phone has all the questions on it. We have a series of questions that you guys have written in and some one more just in general to talk about emotional health. This is core 2 from your session, but we also have some questions about the intimacy ladder coming up later.
Yeah, that's great.
So we're gonna dive in. How's your day going?
Bro, it's going great, yeah. It's actually been a crazy week because I just got back from Taiwan a little while ago, and
Really?
yeah, it was a really good time. But the time zone difference, right?
Taiwan's 12 hours? Or
I don't know. I think 9 hours.
9 from here?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's long enough. I mean, it's like it's not even close. It's night it's night and day difference. How about if I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You go to the East Coast, you're like, I'm a little off.
yeah,
Coming back from Asia, you're like,
I'm another day off. Yeah. So I'm doing well. I'm super excited to be here, and I love what we're doing. So this is awesome.
this is cool. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start off with one of the guys wrote in, Ken, and I thought this is a great just intro because I feel like a lot of guys also feel this way. He says, this is a huge area of struggle for me. I can literally be sitting on the couch, having a shaking fit, not understanding what the problem is, other than I'm worried or agitated about something. But up until then, 5 minutes ago, my self-assessment would have been, I'm okay. I'm really quite lost at a lot of this teaching. It feels like, this is my favorite part, a psychological word salad.
That's awesome.
And I thought, that's so great. Way to put that.
That's amazing.
Okay, so someone's sitting there,
Yeah.
and they're just, suddenly it all kind of blows up, or they're having this episode, this experience.
Yeah. And they're trying to figure out, like, what the heck do I do?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. 5 minutes ago was fine.
Yeah. Well, we say around 50,000 words to ourselves a day.
Okay.
On average. The majority of those words are unconscious. So, which basically you don't know that you're saying them to yourself. You don't realize it. And by the way, of those 50,000 words, it's like 70% of them are negative.
Really?
For the average person. And you will repeat 95% of what you say today, you'll repeat tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day.
Of the 50,000
Yeah.
or of that 70%?
Of the 50,000. We just say the same things to ourselves over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And so
The majority of it's negative.
Yeah, the majority of it's negative. I mean, how often, if you think about it, like how often do you catch yourself complimenting yourself? Like, oh, I did that really good.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah. Most of our feedback to ourselves is critical. It's
Totally.
like, why did I do that?
Self-adjusting.
Yeah, you walk in and you're like, oh man, is this person going to see me this way? I don't, right? And so, I mean, that's our life. That's our internal world. And the challenge that we all have is no one typically sits you down and goes, here's how to be self-aware. Here's how to know what's going on inside of you. And so you learn, right? You learn to just not think about problems. You learn why so much stuff is unconscious. You learn to internalize everything and not not really focus on what's going on in real time, what's really happening with you. So what people miss, here's what he misses. He misses the subtle shift that happens when a negative thought comes into his mind, because he's so wired. He's gone his whole entire life not thinking, not being conscious of it. He's gone his whole entire life just feeling down, just feeling terrible, just feeling whatever. So when another negative thought comes in his mind, he doesn't really even recognize it.
It's just another thought.
It's just what I've done my whole entire life.
Something new. It's just like, oh yeah, we were here yesterday, apparently. 95%.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just my whole entire life. And so self-awareness is something that you have to practice. Finding your needs is something that you have to practice. Being aware of what's going on inside of you, not introspective. Introspection is what's wrong with me. Self-awareness is what's going on, just what is the weather. And so you have to become practiced at this skill, or you just literally live checked out your whole entire life.
Yeah.
So the practice of learning, we can dive as deep into this hole as you want to. But what I like to do when I'm just starting out, when people are just starting out, is, and I'll answer his question more specifically if he's sitting on the couch and he's experiencing this. But if he's just starting out, I like to tell people, like, in the morning, you need to have an alarm set on your phone that goes off that says, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Just so you're just checking the weather. So it's like, actually, good example. I woke up early with the kids this morning. My wife slept in. She wasn't feeling good. And then I went back in the room at 7 o'clock. I was like, hey, I have a meeting today at 8. I just wanted to let her know so that she had enough time to get ready.
Totally, yeah.
And she goes, oh, I'm so glad you woke me up. Oh, no, she said, oh, I was in the middle of a dream. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, babe. And because I hate waking my wife up, especially when she's sick, right? It's like, oh my God. So then she was going and
you kind of apologize for it. You're like, I know you're not feeling good. I'd love to take care of this.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then she was in the bathroom, like getting ready. And she goes, oh, I had the worst dream today. I'm so glad that you woke me up. I was in the middle of a bad dream. Okay. That's really good to know, because if she wouldn't have even been conscious, been aware that, like, wow, I just had a really bad dream, it's making me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
It's actually affecting my hope levels. It's affecting my confidence. It's affecting, like, I feel fear because of this dream that I had. It feels really real. Actually, 20 minutes ago, I was living this other reality, and now I'm in this reality. Like, if you don't do that switch, if you don't go like, okay, is there anything that I need this morning because I was having these really bad dreams? You miss out on being able to make that adjustment. Like, oh,
you walk through the day, my shield's still up.
I feel insecure. I feel scared. I feel
that's attacking me. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel lonely. And so at lunchtime, that alarm could go off. It just says, how's it going? So in the morning, what do you need? Lunchtime, how's it going? At night, how did it go? And here's what you're doing. You're learning to catch those opportunities, those moments that happen in your day that begin to shape, mold, and affect you, good or bad. And so, like, if I walk in here and I sit down and I feel nervous, I want to know that. Because if I know it, I can do things proactively to help me through it. I can take a couple of deep breaths. I can remind myself, like, oh, this isn't about my performance. This is just, I'm here to give what I have. Like, if I'm not aware of it, I will do things to try to make myself feel more secure, and probably be an idiot. Like, I might talk for 20 minutes about something that doesn't even matter just because I feel insecure.
Yeah.
And so we want to get into the practice of learning to be self-aware so that we can start to have an inventory of what really happened in my day.
Yeah.
So you don't end up on the couch in a random spot and be like, all of a sudden I feel really scared.
Yeah.
Or I feel really alone. Or you don't even know that you feel really scared or really alone. You just feel the emotion of alone. You feel sad or angry, or you want to run away, or you want to numb, but you don't know why you want to numb. Okay. That's all because you don't have a good pulse on your diet. Think about it in terms of eating. I know I'm giving a lot of examples, but I'm really trying to help guys think through
That's
it.
good.
Think about if you woke up in the morning and you didn't pay attention to what you ate. So you just went in and grabbed the first thing and you eat a bowl of ice cream in the morning. And then at lunch, you go back and you drink a whole cup of orange juice, right? And then at dinner time, like you just binge yourself on a bunch of donuts. Well, you're going to get to bedtime and you're not going to sleep. You're going to get to bedtime and you're going to have all kinds of feelings and experiences in your body. Like, yeah, you put trash into yourself all day long. You didn't monitor what you actually really needed. And now you're reaping the repercussions of not living a healthy, balanced diet, like actually putting food into your body where there's a consequence for that. The consequence of eating sugar all day long is anxiety, it's stress, it's whatever, it's fatigue, it's high highs and low lows. Okay, well, what we say to ourselves all day is food. It affects our emotions. It affects how we feel. And so if you do find yourself, which I do different times, like I did it this morning. I walked in, I had a meeting earlier, actually in this building, and I walked in and all of a sudden I felt really anxious. And I was like
when you walked in, you were fine?
I was fine. And on the way in, I started to feel really anxious. By the time I sat down, I was like, wow, I've got a lot of stress. Like it was just like there. Wow, I feel really anxious. And I started to rewind the clock. Okay, what happened? What happened right before I got here? Yeah. Oh, I was in another meeting. And we have all these tasks that I started to feel overwhelmed about doing. And I'm tired, right? Because I was in Asia. So I'm like a little bit emotionally tired, which means I don't have as much bandwidth as I normally do. And then these extra little things that I felt like were being put on my plate made me to start to feel powerless. And that powerless feeling turned into like this anxiety, the stress anxiety. And so then I have to just work myself through like, okay, am I really powerless? Or what do I need to do in order to not feel powerless? And I just had to start like, okay, I need to create a game plan for this task and this task and this task. And, oh, I'm not actually doing it all on my own. And, oh, I believe this lie over here that I'm susceptible to anxiety or whatever, right? Like I'm starting to untangle these lies that I believe and then these other tasks that feel like they're weighing me down. And now I just have to give some answers for those.
I like it. So let me ask you, in that situation, I think one, it's like to be celebrated, the fact that you walked in the building fine, and by the time you got to your seat, you weren't fine, and you recognized it in that walk. You're like, oh, wow. Like that's a huge thing for everybody to win at, is to go, oh, wow, I caught it within 3 minutes versus, and that's like years of experience, I'm imagining.
Yeah, it's years of just growth
and practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the moment there, but you're walking into, I'm assuming, an important meeting.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have to be engaged. How do you then go, wow, I'm realizing all this stuff is here. What I think I need is probably to make a game plan, to map it out, but I'm being required to be present somewhere else. So my needs that I feel can't be met in the moment. How do you manage that right there?
Okay. Well, I mean, for me personally, like super open and honest, my greatest fear was that I wasn't going to be okay in the moment. Like this feeling of overwhelm is going to take me over. So I'm also...
can I ask, what does that lead to? Like you feel overwhelmed?
Leads to more anxiety.
More anxiety, and you just shut down and you're...
shake, have a hard time talking.
Okay. Yeah, okay, great.
That type of stuff, right? It's manifesting in your body, sweating, nervousness. Yeah. I feel like you just want to run away.
Yeah.
So I first need to realize, okay, where did this come from? Oh, it came from the spot back here. So I'm actually up. I was just getting ready we have 50 counselors that I lead. So I'm getting ready to stand up in front of everyone and help them work on their caseloads. So they're going to tell me about, hey, I'm working with this guy, this is what we're going through. They don't tell me names, but can you help us? Then we all problem solve with one another. So I'm leading that time. So I just quickly have to realize, what is spiking my anxiety? Well, feeling overwhelmed, having these tasks, but the biggest things are that I don't think I'm okay right now in this moment, and I'm worried about where it's going to go to. So then you can do things, right? Like you can take a really deep breath through your nose, and then breathe in one more time through your nose, and then a long exhale, which triggers your nervous system to calm down, right? So you can do a couple of those things. And then I start to remind myself of the truth. Like, what is the truth? Oh, I've been here so many times in the past. Oh, it's just an emotion. Emotions have a life cycle. They last like 19 seconds. They go away. Okay, I can start to feel it go away. Okay, don't future trip. Don't project what might happen 10 minutes or 20 minutes or a day from now. I get back into like, oh, I'm right here, right now. I could feel it going away. Great. Okay, I feel good. Like I'm doing that while people are asking questions and I'm helping people work through stuff. It's less effective than if I was all alone by myself in the room.
Yeah.
But it's actually fairly effective. I'm making sure that I'm being really present to what they're doing, and then that I don't let my mind get out of control in these out of control spirals. And then I ultimately remember that, so I have OCD, and what my OCD wants to do is take this small little tiny thought that normally wouldn't be a big deal and blow it up. Well, what if, and it just, and so I also have this trick that I go, oh, this thing, this is not me. It's just OCD that wants me to spiral into this crazy thing. And so I just realized, like, this crazy emotion that I feel right now, it's just emotions. They go away. It doesn't last. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm tired. I felt overwhelmed for a minute. I can solve both of those things. I'm going to sleep good tonight. I'm going to. And then I just work myself down.
I love that. And it sounds like the more practice that you have, the more just quick tools to go, not that.
Because I understand myself.
I feel like for me, what I typically, and I think my concern is I'm going to take care of everybody else so much that I neglect myself. So when I feel anxiety walking to the next thing, I know my history is to disengage and just give right there. And then in the end, be burnt out, be exhausted. One of the things that I've tried to do is to kind of pause in the moment. I like your idea of like having some breathing techniques and some stuff to just to take it down 3 levels to start with. The thing that I try to do is just to go, okay, and I skim throughout my day and go, when do I have a window? Great. I'm going to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I have 15 minutes here.
Yeah.
And it to me, that reassures me to go, no, Abram, I'm going to take care of you. We're going to talk about it right here. We don't have the ability to unpack it right now, but we're going to talk about it at this point.
Yeah.
And then I try to protect that thing. The danger for me is to get to that moment and go, it's fine. But then it just compounds with interest.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't feel like you have any tools, if you feel powerless to what's happening, then the next option, right, is to move into fight, flight, or freeze. And so I'm either gonna fight and like get way deep into what's happening to me and how do I solve, and like, right, and get this big fear response and blow it out of the water, or I'm gonna run away. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to run away. I'm just going to keep running. I'm going to go drink alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a girl. I'm going to go, because the truth is, like, if I drank alcohol right now, I could get rid of this feeling. Like, I could get rid of the anxiety. If I could go sleep with a girl right now, I could get rid of this feeling, because my brain can't do 2 things at once. I can't be like so worried about this and in the middle of this sexual moment, and we get it, right? If I binged a bunch of food, well, food releases dopamine to your brain. Like, I could take the edge off by doing that. And so
it's kind of just like ignoring the burning pot on the stove to go, I'm going to the living room, I'm going to the bedroom, so I can't smell it.
Yeah.
But when I come out, it's going to be worse.
My house is on fire. How did my house get on fire? So I think that's where people have to just assess, like, what areas do I need to grow some skills in?
Yeah.
And when you start to understand yourself, like, one of the biggest helps for me was realizing at some point, oh, you have OCD. You've had this since you're a little kid. Like, this explains a lot. This explains why I've had this perpetual cycle throughout my life. It's not good or bad that I have it. it's not a horrible thing to have. I just have to know how to handle. Like, it's just a part of my life that I have to deal with.
And I love that you're identifying it as something you have, not something that you are.
Yeah.
It's like a strength or weakness. It's like, it's something that it's accessible.
Yeah.
And it's impacting me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't define me.
Yeah.
It's something I just need to engage with.
It's part of what made me incredible at counseling. It's the thing that crushes me, emotionally.
Yeah.
So people need to stop and learn themselves and actually understand. So I'll add to this piece. If you can understand how you work, the way you work. So that's why I like personality tests, but also like really understanding. I'll go back to my wife because I really understand my wife. And she would say, you know me better than I know myself. It's because I get to observe her outside of herself, right? And I've had 13 years with her, dating plus marriage. And so I understand when this thing happens right here, she's starting to go down this road. Mm. And I know because we've done this so many times that this road leads to here. And when this thing happens, she can get back out. And so like, I understand her so well that I can cut it off. Mm. I can go, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Like, tell me what's happening in you. Are you feeling all right? And she'll be like, no, I'm not. Well, I know that she's not.
But she hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, maybe she hasn't expressed it yet.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also know where she has a propensity to go.
Yeah.
In the same way, like, it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
It can be a really great thing. Like, she knows that I have a propensity to take my hobby way too far. So when she sees me get into something new, she goes, hey, can we just pace ourselves in this? And I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Great word choice.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's good and bad. Like, we're just understanding my personality, what things I like, how I do, and I see it in my kids. Some of my kids they're shy when people come around. Some of them want to act out. Like, they want to be the center of attention. Mm. Not good or bad. It's just personality.
Yeah.
If you understand that, now I can start to have control over that. Mm-hmm. So he's sitting on the couch, having all these experiences. He's aware of the negative emotion that he's feeling or the negative thoughts he's having, but he wasn't aware of all there's so much data that was given to him that he has to become really present with, really conscious with. And that's the practice of learning yourself, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's great. If I could add to it. So in core 2, we've talked about setting the reminders and then kind of self-assessing.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about in my own journey, and I think and for men, it's helpful because because I heard you set the reminders a few years ago, and I'm like, great. I think it's still maybe on my phone. Everybody's buzzing in. You're like, how you doing? You're like,
yeah.
One of the things I think we have to be careful to avoid is the temptation to say fine.
Yeah.
Like I had to catch myself to go, you can't say fine, you can't say good.
Right.
And instead, so like in your
describe how
in
you're
your
doing
homework,
right now.
Where they have their we call it the cheat sheet, the little check-in wheel, their motion wheel.
Yeah.
Is to go, great, pick a different word besides fine or good. And then it starts to identify. And for me, I even got stuck and I was like, delightful. I mean, at peace, calm. I'm like, I know I wasn't, because I'd have these episodes where, things would come up or I'd burn out or something. And so I think one thing that you had mentioned in there, I'm just trying to tie it together here, is asking specific situations. Okay, how does my relationship with my roommates feel? Mm-hmm. How do I feel about work? Because how do I feel right now? I think I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how was my experience at work today?
Start going through the categories.
Yeah. How was my experience at school? How was my experience with my roommates? Like, and then picking a wheel, a word from that emotion wheel to start to identify and to go, oh, overall, I'm still doing good, but I actually realize here's an earlier trigger that I'm starting to identify.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really great advice. And even if that guy did that sitting on the couch, like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from. All right, how are you feeling about your relationship with your wife? How are you feeling about
your girlfriend?
Or your girlfriend, yeah. How are you feeling about yourself right now? You feel proud of yourself? Do you feel powerless? How do you feel about your job? Right? And you start to narrow down like, oh, I'm not doing great. Yeah. That's great.
Okay, so Troy asked a question that we've answered, but I just wonder if you have additional thoughts. It says, what can someone do to manage and reduce stress in their lives?
A lot.
I'd like to add on to the question, because some of it we've kind of answered here of mitigating, but how do you know when you're trimming back stressors versus avoiding? Maybe that's a completely different question.
Yeah, let's do that one next.
Okay.
So for starters, stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. How we view stress decides whether it's really bad or not. And
great opening line.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Because if you stand in front of a train, right? Like you're going to feel some anxiety. You're going to feel some stress. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's telling you, you need to move along. Like you need to move from this spot quick enough to get out of the way of what's coming at you.
Yeah.
If you lift weights, like that is a strain. It's a stress on your body. It's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a fine line between too much, right? Like, oh, wow, I noticed a difference between I picked up this weight and I'm starting to analyze, like, if this feels like it's going to hurt me, this feels like it's too much. So stress, it's too much. It's like, I don't want to get out of bed. I start to get into that dread because sometimes stress focuses you, right? Think about when you used to play football or whatever before a game. Like I get in there and there is this anxiety, there is this stress, but that's releasing adrenaline into my body, which is literally helping me to narrow my focus. It's helping me to be, I'm actually becoming stronger, the adrenaline. Like it's helping everything. It's helping me to like do this thing really well.
Yeah.
So I hate to just say like, because it's also not realistic. Like we don't live lives that are completely stress-free.
Yeah.
It's just not real. You want to be able to understand and manage how much, how quick, how long.
Yeah.
Right? Like how much, how quick, how long are you carrying that for? If you're at home laying in bed, that stress is no longer helpful. Like that stress that you're going to want to get rid of. And just trying to like give people a framework, because I think we have these really unrealistic expectations of like that we should be these, Zen Buddhist monks that walk around and do everyday life. And it's like, when I go home and my kids are screaming and I'm trying to cook dinner, it feels stressful. And I'm not going to get them to shut up all the way. They're kids. I'm going to help alleviate some of the high highs of that stress by going like, okay, what can I do in this moment? I can ask them to go play in their room. I can still hear them in their room. I can I can put on a movie for them. There's all kinds of things. So I just want to get out of that out of the way. Okay. When we are feeling negative stress, like when you're feeling overwhelmed to the point where you're like, man, this isn't good, you have to just stop and make a list of what it is that's actually causing you stress. Like write it down. So the way my kids play with one another, great. The way my wife and I interact, have a lot of stress around that. Okay. The amount that's required of me at work, my financial, how much money I'm spending every month and not bringing in. Okay, great. Now we want to look at these categories and start to go, what practically can I do about them? In any one of them that I get to that I go, I don't know, that's a great thing. I'm going to go, who does know? Who's the expert, right? So for instance, you ever had a car breakdown?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. You're asking yourself something right away, like, can I fix this? Now, you may not be aware that you're asking that, but you do. It's unconscious. And if you can't fix your car, well, you don't just go to bed and not do anything. Like you think through, okay, well, who can fix it? It's just a natural thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I can take it to, maybe I don't know who. So I post on Instagram, like, hey, does anybody know a good mechanic in Reading?
Yep.
So I get a reference. Well, that helps me feel confident in my decision. So I'm building confidence, right? Like, and then I look at my bank account and I go, do I have the money to fix this? And, you know, you go meet with the mechanic and they say like, oh, this thing right here, it's just a belt. Like you have a fan belt that broke. You're like, how much is that going to cost? And they're like, the actual belt itself is $29. The labor's $95. So you're like, $130 or whatever. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
If you take it and they're like, your transmission's gone. Your transmission just died.
How about that?
Yeah. Well, now you have a different problem, which isn't good or bad. It's just, I have to solve this. So life is it's like a giant math equation, right? Like it all adds up. When you stop and look at your life, this is why I don't like avoiding it, because if we run away, like we think that it's random things, like it's ghosts that are causing us to feel scared or nerd or overwhelmed. It's really practical things. It's these very, very practical things that if you stop and you just start to pencil them out and then go through the process of solving it, which is asking yourself questions. Can I fix this? No, I can't. Do I know anybody who knows how to fix this? No, I don't. Do I know somebody who knows somebody? Of course you do. Everybody does. Everybody knows somebody who could probably, I mean, my mother-in-law has stage 4 cancer. There's nobody on planet Earth that knows how to cure the stage 4 cancer that she has. So then you get into, okay, well, what is solvable? What can we do for now? Where is the right path to go, right? Like and I say that because some people will be like, well, some things aren't solvable. You can't fix every single problem, but you still can have a really incredible plan for what you can do when you can't solve this problem. The last thing you want to do is nothing. The last thing you want to do is leave that water boiling on your stove and go ignore it and go in the other room. Yeah. Like, show up, write down what's going on, show up and start solving problems as quickly as you can. If you got a money problem, great. The guy to fix that, it might be Dave Ramsey. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what do I have to do to be as good at my finances as Dave Ramsey? Well, pick from one of 50 of his courses. And maybe you go, oh, I don't have enough money to buy
YouTube.
You can get everything you need off of YouTube. It's so true.
Yeah.
The difference is Dave Ramsey's, whatever, $300 course, they laid it out for you. YouTube, you're going to have to go lay it out for you. But if you have lots of time, but you don't have a lot of money, great. You just solved the problem. Put your time into creating the course for you. So much stuff is solvable like that. People don't walk themselves through it.
I love what you're saying, because it sounds, most of the time I feel like we do approach anxiety from avoid, like, let's get through it, let's get over it. Like, the more that it's happening in my life, the worse that I'm doing, because I'm trying to live free.
Yeah.
But when we approach anxiety from a perspective of a stressor or as a challenge, then we can engage with it to go, oh, this is a problem I can solve, or I get to figure out how to solve. And as a man showing up, it feels like there's something just in men that love solving problems, of just going, hey, let's solve some problems. And so viewing stressors as just puzzles or problems to solve, we can even, and then the next thing that comes up, I think often, is the fear of, well, I don't have what it takes to solve this. Yeah. And just encouraging myself, what you just said, like, I can solve something, I can find someone who knows, or I can find someone who knows someone who knows it. Yeah. And then reiterating and going, okay, we solved the transmission issue last week. I don't know what to do with stage 4 cancer right now, but you know, we've done this. We're going to figure this out. And then you stop running from it and you start pulling it in front of you going, no, I was made to handle this. I was made to to find solutions, not only for my world, like for my life, my immediate world, but for the world around me. I was made to transform this.
So a lot of your confidence in problem solving came when you were a really young child, right? So what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to go through a series of tests and trials when you're a young child up into your adolescence and then teenage years and adult years, that build confidence. And your confidence is supposed to be built through competence, right? So follow me. I'm not trying to be really cryptic. I'm saying, so what happens is a lot of men who have never gone through those trials where they're being helped, right? Where they're being poured into, they don't learn that they can do it. They haven't built the confidence. They didn't have a dad walking them through, okay, son, come do chores with me. Come mow the lawn. And he's teaching you how to overcome these little obstacles. He's having you do things like pour gas in the lawnmower and you spill it. And he goes like, okay, you spilled the gas because you did blah, blah, blah. And you're learning, I can do this. I'm good at this. I'm good at solving problems. My dad used to have me help fix cars, and he'd bring me in to his work, and he had an auto parts store and he had mechanic shops. And when I was young, I was doing stuff with him. I was cleaning the shop and I was doing all kinds of stuff. There was stuff that was hard for me and I'd have to get my dad's help. I'm learning, I can do this. And so when you learn you can do it, you don't get overwhelmed with something that you don't know how to do. It feels like a challenge. And it feels like this, if you have confidence, then a challenge looks like an opportunity to win. If you don't have confidence, then a challenge looks like a place where you know you're going to lose. And so many guys just get their butt kicked because they don't try. They don't ever try. And they don't try, not because they don't want to try, but because that little boy in them has never felt capable to succeed, never felt capable at all. And so he just runs away and runs away and runs away. That's no problem. You just have to stop and go like, okay, again, it's part of understanding yourself.
Yeah.
This is what I do when I come up against a challenge. I run away. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't be embarrassed about that. That's great. It's just a fact. Okay, what am I going to do next time I come up against a challenge? First step, recognize it's a challenge. This isn't a place where I'm going to, die. This is a challenge. Okay, normally I'd want to run away. What can I do right now? Right? Self-awareness. I can ask for help. Great. Who knows how to solve this? Man, that little boy inside of him's like, you're going to get made fun of, just like your dad made fun of you, or you're going to get abandoned. And you just work through those inner issues that we have that make us want to run away.
I love that. And I feel like it's a practice, like, let's slow it down and let's rebuild the confidence with confidence that we maybe weren't given.
Yeah. So there's a really great quote, and I'm going to completely butcher it. It's not mine. I can't remember the guy's name, but he said, you can't stand in the mirror and shout affirmations and expect yourself to feel confident. You have to have a stack of undeniable evidence that you are who you say that you are. And that's what we're trying to build in life, right? Like, we get taught in the church to name it and claim it and proclaim it. It's like, that's a good start. That's fine. But what you really want is a stack of undeniable evidence. I have done this and done this and done this. When David came up against Goliath, he didn't say, I'm a man of God. I'm going to be a future king. I am a great warrior. He said, I killed the lion and I killed the bear. Here is my stack of evidence that I can do this next giant task.
Yeah.
We get way caught off guard with trying to emotionally will ourselves to like take this thing on and proclaim this thing. It's like, you don't have to do that. You can do a little bit of that, but what you're trying to do is like every single day. This is why I like guys to have a routine. Get up, make your bed in the morning, go work out, live by some tasks so that you're building this confidence that I can accomplish stuff. I can do this life well. It's the stack of evidence.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got 15 minutes left. We're going to try to hit 3 questions here.
Okay. Sorry.
It's more like, I think this is great. I think we've kind of touched on some other ones. Let's see here. Okay, so more lightning round. This one comes up with that, has to do with boundaries. Simeon says, let me skim through here, save it. setting boundaries with our parents. I want to be ready for my wife, so I'm wondering if there's a kind of model of what a man who sets his boundaries with his relationship with his parents look like. My mom loves Bethel, and I'm actually giving her lots of advice for relationships and what she could do with my little siblings because they're starting puberty. My father isn't really into the Holy Spirit, and so my mom's always communicating with me about family issues because she knows I have a very good resources from Bethel. I told her yesterday that actually I can't be her counselor, but at the same time, I'm thinking that since I can help her, I should just help her. It feels unhealthy, so I'm wondering what it looks like to have boundaries with my parents so I can be fully present for my wife in the future.
That's great. So there's a big difference between helping somebody through something and being someone's source of help. And so that's always kind of the boundary for me, right? Like, I don't want to be my mom's husband.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take that place for my mom.
You're not your mom's emotional support.
No.
Human.
My mom today was in a hard time. Like, I'm going to jump in there and help my mom through that hard time.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take the place of my dad and, or a counselor in her life. So I think that, like, yeah, giving your mom some resources. Hey, here's some really cool things that I've seen. Hey, here's some, but as soon as she wants to process day in and day out the difficulties with her and my dad, or her and her husband, the difficulties in her relationship with the Holy Spirit, it's like, I'm no longer get to be her son. So I think that's the boundary line that he's got to figure out for himself. Like, when am I no longer able to be her son and I am now her counselor, her source? And so I would just draw the line somewhere in there and just be like, hey, so here's the thing. You don't have to shame mom either. You can just say, like, Mom, I want you to have the best help possible, right? I want you to have the best help possible. And I want you to feel confident that regardless of what dad does, that you can help the kids, you can have a thriving life, you can do this stuff. Why don't you go and, get somebody from the Transformation Center here, or, find somebody that's awesome to help counsel and coach you. I mean, that would be a worthy endeavor if he's up for it to like, hey, here's one spot that I know that you could find a counselor or whatever, and have her reach out and do that. So I think those are the boundary lines with that.
That's great language too. And I like, reemphasizing your point of there's a difference between being help and being the source of help.
Yeah.
Okay, which kind of ties into question number 2, and we are doing excellent time. Well done.
Thanks.
With a
I mean, I can
answer.
go really fast.
All right. We'll see if we have other. No, I think these next ones are
cool.
good.
Great.
Okay, so I think you've brilliantly put, when it comes to the role of a man is to provide, protect, and promote. How do you protect someone emotionally without becoming responsible for their emotions or leading into codependency? What's that look like?
Yeah. So
specifically, we're talking to men, single men going into dating and engagement.
Okay, great. That's good context. I don't emotionally open them up before our relationship demands or allows that. And here's the thing, like, when Lauren and I were just starting to date, we weren't even holding hands. So I know, like, if she doesn't trust me to hold my hand, and if I don't trust her to hold her hand, then it's inappropriate for me to dive into expecting her to handle my greatest fears, expecting her to handle my deepest, darkest feelings, right? And so I'm starting to gauge, like, and it is a challenging thing because you have to open up enough that you can create a bond and you can build that connection and you can start to build your guys' story, but not so much that she becomes inappropriately, I just thought through, inappropriately attached to you. Here's the lines for me. If I'm opening up to you because I feel insecure and I'm trying to get you to connect to me, it's already wrong.
Mm.
Like, it's like, it's not necessarily how far do you open up, it's what are you using your vulnerability to do? Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay. So for instance, like,
So we're not protecting necessarily their emotions. We're protecting the pacing at which our emotions are being shared and trust is being built.
yeah. So I think emotionally, when you open up a woman emotionally, you have to make sure, okay, if you do that with her best interest in mind,
Yeah.
not yours, you'll do it at the right time. If that makes sense. And so like when I was dating with Lauren and I felt really insecure, the first thing that I wanted to do was to go and have these really deep conversations to build that connection, to make myself feel secure. Okay, that is the wrong motive. Like that is a misuse of my vulnerability. That's not how I want to do this. So from a place of security, now I'm thinking logically, where are we at? Are we at a place where I can have this conversation? Are we at a place where we can go a little bit deeper? And now I'm actually probably going to ask questions instead of just try to bait her into this really deep conversation. So I'm going to say something like, which we did. Hey, I would like to go a little bit deeper into my divorce and what happened. Do you feel like you're at a spot where that's helpful for you? Hey, I feel like I'm at a spot where I'd like to talk about my past pain. Do you feel like we're at a spot? I'm giving her the option. I'm not just doing it. It's the same thing like before we held hands, I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
Before we kiss, I'm talking about it. Before we like got engaged, I'm talking through, hey, do you feel like we're at a spot where you're ready for a marriage type of commitment?
Yeah.
And I'm not just opening her up randomly to these, like, wait, it's 12 o'clock at night and you started pouring out your heart about, your whatever fantasies that you've had in the past and now she's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Let's model by being a gentleman and knocking on the door first. Like, hey, are you good with this conversation? Would this be helpful for you?
I love that.
To me, I'm not responsible for what she feels. I'm responsible how I present information to her.
We'll post that one on Twitter later.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what if she pushes it, like what if she opens up and shares more before you are ready or before you think you're there?
Then I'm responsible to be a powerful person and say, hey, I want to hear about that. I just don't feel like I'm in that spot yet. And what does that do? It builds trust. And she has to be able to do that, right? Because there's no way that every time that you're going to be at the same place as her and she's going to be at the same place as you, right? So you may have like tried to hold her hand and she'd be like, hey, actually, I'm not at that spot yet. And you're like, oh crap, I'm so sorry. I should have asked. Great. Well, you didn't destroy trust. Maybe for a second you did, but you're going to build trust because next time you're going to ask. And then she's going to go, oh, this guy's a learner.
Yeah. This
guy respects me. I trust him.
Yeah.
So it's not the absence of mistakes that builds trust in this scenario. It's how you clean up a mess. It's the ability to, repeat that success over and over again by listening, paying attention. So, a lot of people feel comfortable to go, especially in our day and age. Somebody's going to feel super comfortable to share their whole life and not feel like, wow, that's a violation. Other people, it's so hard for them to share their life. It's like, so you're going to make mistakes, but ask.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. And I love even just giving them language of like, oh, I'd love to hear about this. You're affirming, but like I'm not there yet. Because the yet throws in, it's not rejection.
No.
It's I'm doing something intentionally.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, I want to pace this so that we get there.
Yeah. You're always trying to build trust.
Okay, last question here as we wrap up. Levi asked a great question. Just open-ended here. What causes jealousy and how do you work through that?
Insecurity. So when
That was quick. You're like,
that's not the first time I've answered this question. So when you're really insecure, you have a poverty mindset. If you have a poverty mindset, if you grew up in poverty, anybody that has anything else, a poverty mindset says that the way that I am is fixed. I'm stuck. It's the way I'm always going to be. I'm never going to have enough. No one ever took care of me. I'm not going to be okay. And that has envy, it has jealousy, it has all kinds of things, bitterness attached to it because you're a victim. And we all get into these places, right? Like I get into those places where I see someone who does the same thing that I do in life, right? Like maybe they lead a men's ministry and they're also a counselor, and they have way more followers on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, what did they do better than I do? It's insecurity. It's my ego.
Yeah.
It's just human nature. So I don't go like, oh, shame on my insecurity. I just recognize it really quick and go, oh, I have a poverty mindset in that area. I believe a lie about God and about myself in this area. That He doesn't have enough to provide for me. That somehow if I had more, I would feel better. That I would be worthy of something more. And so when you feel insecure, you have to first recognize it. Wow, this jealousy right here, it's insecurity. And I got to go back to the main source. I got to go back to God and go like, I'm feeling really insecure right now. What are the lies that are causing me, or jealous? What are the lies that are causing me to feel jealous right now?
So contextualized inside of dating, we'll say preliminary, you're beyond the first couple dates.
Yeah.
You're not yet at engagement, but you're in that mushy middle that you're kind of figuring stuff out. The girl you're dating, going on dates with, is you start to feel jealous for her because of the way she's interacting with other people.
Yeah.
What's some of the, you think, potential lies that could be hitting you?
Well, okay.
Tied to that poverty
I'm not
mindset?
sure that it is a lie yet. So part of it's like, if she's interacting with guys and it feels inappropriate, then can I actually communicate how I'm feeling to the girl that I'm with? If you can't, that's not a relationship that you want to be in. Can she respond in order to protect my relationship? So me not liking how she interacts with somebody else isn't necessarily jealousy. Sometimes it's just painful. So if I saw, and we've all had this experience before, where you see, maybe you're dating someone and it felt like they were being a little bit too friendly. Yeah. I'm going to say, hey, I always want you to feel safe and comfortable in this relationship. I want you to feel like you can be yourself. A moment ago, when you were talking to this guy, I felt really sad. It actually really hurt my feelings because I felt like it actually felt like you were flirting with him. I'm not saying that you were. I'm saying that's how this made me feel. Now, she may have a really outgoing personality, and she may in that moment go, ooh, I think I was just being really fun with him. I could totally see how you would feel that way. I need to help protect our relationship. Like, and you're learning what you can and can't do in a relationship, right? Because you haven't been in a relationship for a long time, so you're learning.
Yeah.
And so we all have to rein back. We all do that. And so I'm learning how to communicate where I'm at. Okay. If she can't handle that, that's not a relationship that's going to go the distance. If she isn't actually flirting, and I keep over and over again, then it's probably coming from my past. My past suspicion, right? I got hurt.
Yeah.
I had somebody in the past, cheat on me. Well, now I'm projecting my fears onto her. Well, this relationship won't last if I don't fix my projections either, because she's in a prison.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get her to do something to make me feel okay. I'll be dependent upon her. It creates a weird dependent relationship. So I have to go back. Maybe I have to do a little bit of counseling because I have some trauma. That's actually trauma coming up. You're being triggered. It's a trauma response that you are experiencing. She's hanging out in a group of people and it's traumatizing. It's triggering. You are in the present day living in the past. Okay, no big deal. Bunch of us are doing that. That's happened before. After my divorce, the first girl I dated, I'm sitting there talking to her. Actually, she's talking to me and I'm going, wow, I wonder if that's a lie. Wow, I wonder if she's not telling me the truth. Wow. I had to realize like, oh, this isn't her. I actually almost started laughing once I realized, right? Because at first I was anxious and worried and all the things that fear does to us. And then I realized, I don't think this is her.
I've superimposed my ex on her.
Just knowing that alone helped it. So I had to relearn this experience. I had to relearn these new experiences with somebody else and work through my fear, allow myself to calm down, be in the present, and just own my own. Yep, you're just afraid. Yep, no big deal. Yep, okay, we're going to learn how to trust somebody again. Oh, we're going to learn how to do this again.
Yeah.
And the more I can just, as we get deeper into relationship, the more I can go like, wow, I have a lot of fear around this area. And the more she goes like, hey, I totally understand that. That's no problem. Especially if I'm owning it.
Yeah.
This isn't you, this is me. Then I could just tell her about what I'm experiencing, not wanting her to fix it. And it will build trust in the relationship because she's also going to see me work on it and fix it.
Yeah. Whew. So that's brilliant. This is why we want Jason in here often. So a couple things just to close up as far as housekeeping goes. This will be on the replay in your dashboard in there. Also, our next live is Inside a Woman's Mind. We're gonna have a panel of women that you can ask questions.
Oh, that's impossible. It's impossible to get inside the mind of a woman.
Well, we're just gonna
as far as we can go.
Throw hooks in and see what comes out, and see just how they experience different aspects. We have women from different ages and stages of life to kind of help you get to ask your questions. So make sure you show up for that. If you want more from Jason, braveco.org. Braveco.org.
Yeah, it's the place to go.
That's it. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Cool. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.
Hey, BraveCo men. Hopefully you loved this week's episode. Listen, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, you are already behind. Go ahead and click right here to subscribe to our podcast. And if you have not watched last week's episode, you can click right here and watch last week's episode. And listen, if you want to upgrade your wardrobe, you can check out some of our new hats that we have in stock and all our other swag. Go to braveco.org and you can look at our store there. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.